Hello, welcome to Guides to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
I'm William.
And we are back. We're going to tell you some tales, both tall and small. So gather all around and enjoy.
Both tall
I ran out of...
and small.
Yeah.
That sounds like, some sort of like a preschooler version of the show or something.
Yeah, it's nice. It's Guide to the Unknown. We're going to learn some things today. Tall tales, small tales, scary tales, fairy tales.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. All right, I made up for before.
Oh, Kristen, good job.
Thank you.
If you've never tuned into Guide to the Unknown before, all you need to know...
There are lots of things like this. Really dig in and enjoy that.
It's true. Every week, Kristen and I research 2 different topics from the world of horror to share them with each other. Mm-hmm. And we laugh as we learn.
Yes. Ooh, wow. We're really... Like full of them tonight.
We should have like a public access show.
Yeah, seriously. I think we're killing it on the slogans.
Yeah, we are.
We should probably pick one, though.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. No, we can have a million
say like
slogans.
4 things.
Nothing wrong with slogans.
No,
and there's nothing wrong with segments. Why don't we go to our first one? Bite-sized monster madness. There are times that Kristen and I find out about a monster that doesn't deserve an entire deep dive. And in those cases, we just talk about them for a couple of seconds. Mm-hmm. So this week, because of the obnoxious heat wave that is ruining my life.
Yeah, we're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
Me neither. It's so disgusting.
Even the act of trying to put AC units in my house just makes me like hotter and sweatier. And it's like going into a deeper pit of hell.
Yes.
To get some air to climb back out.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is terrible. Like, why am I getting a full workout from like doing the Swiffer wet jet?
Yeah.
Like my Apple Watch was like, oh, you've completed your exercise ring because I was sweating profusely. My heart rate was probably up.
Yeah, it's terrible. And now I'm getting notifications from Google on my phone that say like...
About the air quality?
Yeah, air quality is low. You may not be able to breathe. I'm like, oh no.
Terrible.
What do we do? Go underground? I don't know what we do in that case. But...
I hibernate more in the summer than in the winter.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going to be doing that. I'm on that.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so yeah.
I want to talk about the potential culprit for the issues we're having, the heat miser.
Oh, that's awesome.
You may know him from the Rankin and Bass Year Without a Santa Claus.
Yeah.
When Santa Claus is depressed
right.
and not willing to send out presents.
That movie is so weird.
No, weird. It's not that he's sick. It's not that he's missing. It's that he's too depressed.
He's down. I mean, I guess we all get down. I guess it's kind of a good mental health message. Even Santa gets depressed.
I suppose so.
We should all talk about our struggles.
Yeah. But the two of his elves, Jingle and Jangle, go to visit the Heat Miser and Snow Miser.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Heat Miser has flaming red hair.
Yep.
He's responsible for summer. I was hoping that maybe he was based on something. He's not.
Yeah.
In the story, he is said to be the one of the sons of Mother Nature. Mm-hmm. Oh,
right.
Yeah,
forgot that that's a thing.
He was in the original movie, and then they made a sequel in 2008. But they also did a live-action version in which the Heat Miser looks is just a guy with a prosthetic nose and disgusting eyebrows.
How was I not aware of that? I mean, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't aware of it, but...
Yeah.
Oh God! Was it a made-for-TV thing or something?
It
had to have been, or a straight to DVD.
If you're not familiar, the Rankin and Bass movies are like these claymation pictures with cute little cartoons.
Yeah, I love them so much.
And then they made the live-action version, and I don't know who they cast, but they just put a bunch of horrible prosthetics on his face. Everybody who's just listening can't see this right now.
Yeah.
Go check out the YouTube version or look up live-action Heat Miser and imagine this man standing outside your house.
Like blowing hot breath onto your house and making it hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God, that's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Anyway, totally made up thing, not really based on anything. Like, Snow Miser, you could probably theorize is based on Jack Frost a little bit, whatever. Heat Miser
Father
is
Snow.
just a Father Snow. Heat Miser is just a
just a mean guy.
Yeah, he's just horrible. Anyway, that is Heat Miser.
Oh God,
that's all I have
not
to
a
say
fan.
About him. Yeah, although
not a fan of his work.
They also made a claymation sequel that came out 10 years ago, and it's the Heat Miser. It's like the Heat Brothers Christmas or the Miser Brothers Christmas something, and it's the original style. It's a claymation movie, and I had never heard of it.
I kind of want to at least just like look it up or something now because I feel like there was a resurgence of people talking about the Heat Miser. and the snow miser or whatever, and how ridiculous it is. I feel like it's one of those things that somehow just kind of came back around at a certain point, which might have been like 10 years ago or whatever.
Right,
so I
yeah.
wonder if they were like striking while the iron was hot.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like also, I mean, I know that this is something from my wheelhouse, so maybe it's just my limited view, but I feel like people were talking about Heat Miser a lot when Jersey Shore first came out because Pauly D's hair is very Heat Miser-esque.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Did he style himself after the Heat Miser?
One could argue he does tan. He likes to tan.
Okay.
GTL.
Yeah, that works. That counts.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my bite-sized Monster Madness for the week.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to go first or should I go first this week?
Why don't you go first?
I'll go first? All right. Kristen, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite pop culture movie monsters.
Yeah,
The monster that I
please.
have for you this week is not, generations old from folklore, from people that used to tell each other stories, as they traveled across the countryside.
Yeah.
It's something that was written in 1983 and
Okay.
became a very big part of both of our lives.
Okay.
Kristen, tell me everything you think you know about Gozer the Gozerian.
Oh, man. What do I know about Gozer? I mean, he's a bad dude ghost.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like details about his like history or whatever. Oh, man. I'm like blanking on all the crazy names
Good.
of stuff.
Then
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Because it's way better if you don't know.
Yeah,
because
fine.
This is the kind of thing that I wonder for people out there who may be really familiar with the Ghostbusters and
Yeah.
Gozer, who eventually becomes the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
A bunch of people who are familiar with this may just go like,
Sumeria.
why are you just telling me the plot of Ghostbusters right now?
But that's the plot of Gozer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so much more that happens to Gozer in the sequels, in the video game, in the
great.
comics. Some of which
I'm stoked.
is
This
like really
great.
creative
Yeah.
and cool. Some of which is bug nuts insane.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how it got published.
Oh, great. Oh, I'm stoked. I actually just rewatched Ghostbusters 1 and 2 not that long ago, probably like
awesome.
last month or something. We watched it on the projector. It's the best. I love it.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
we went to Kristen, her husband Ryan, my wife Allie, and I went to Dave and Buster's last night.
Yep.
Ryan and I played the Ghostbusters arcade game.
Yep.
It was super difficult.
Yeah.
And like arcades were always designed to keep you pumping quarters into the machine.
Yeah.
This is like that to the like nth degree, I thought.
Oh, really?
Ryan and I played it for about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Before it was like, yeah, all right, next
We're
level,
just,
you
like,
gotta put in
wasting-
more tokens, whatever. And we were like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta give us a little bit more. But it was still awesome. Like they had the Scoleri
looks
brothers
very cool.
flying at you and stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw the library ghost. I saw Vigo the Carpathian. You can fight anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Ghostbusters. It got Ghostbusters back in my head.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about Gozer.
I'm very excited about this because I know, well, I mean, I guess not off the top of my head at this moment, but I know a lot about Ghostbusters, but I just know that there's an extended world, but I don't know a lot about it. So,
Yeah.
like, I am down.
Yeah. So just to make sure that everybody's basically on the same page and to give a warning, I am going to be spoiling Ghostbusters 1, 2, the reboot from a couple years ago, the video game, and the comic books. So
Please
warning
do.
if you are afraid of hearing what happens in those things. They're comedy movies, but they do have sort of like
They do have-
bizarrely intricate supernatural plots.
Yeah, they have a lore to them.
A heavy
Yes,
lore.
it's like a really extensive. It's crazy.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the first two movies in the video game.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Aykroyd in particular had been working on the Ghostbusters concept for like years.
Yeah.
He originally wanted it to be that it was almost as if you've got the police, the firefighters, and you've got the Ghostbusters.
Right.
And it was originally supposed to take place on Mars in the future, and they would have fought the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in like the first 15 minutes.
They could have been part of the Space Force.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they could have been the
This
Space
is very
Force.
timely.
They might still be
They could
the
have been
Space Force.
Trumpy's Space Force.
So when he went to make it a movie, basically everybody was like, we can't shoot this. It's
Right.
1983.
We don't have the technology.
Yeah, can you please pare this down? And so
Yeah.
they became sort of like schlubby, like New York guys trying to start a business.
Works for me. I like that better.
And it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Now, William, you would think if they could stage the moon landing, they'd be able to send these Ghostbusters to space.
You would
It
think
just
so.
sounds like a studio executive was being tight with his money.
For more information about the moon landing, go watch Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Yep.
Room 238. Rearrange the letters, you get Moon Room and
Yeah.
nothing else.
That's all you need to know.
We did a whole episode on The Shining.
Yeah.
So, Gozer is the big villain in Ghostbusters 1. It is this deity known as, well, I'll just give some of the names because the names are awesome. Gozer the Gozerian, Gozer the Destructor, Volgus Sildrohar, Gozer the Traveler, and Lord of the Cebulia.
Awesome.
How good are those names?
They're real good.
And they're all like, I feel like those are in particular are rambled off in like 3 seconds by Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Who talks fast.
Yeah.
Who, he's the reason that there's so much heavy lore in Ghostbusters because Dan Aykroyd himself is obsessed with, like the occult.
Like
and
everything paranormal.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in Ghostbusters itself, I'm going to explain, I guess, I'll go with like the fictional world first, and then I'll explain a little bit of how Dan Aykroyd came up with this stuff. So, in Ghostbusters, the original movie, 1984 is when it came out. Sigourney Weaver's character, Dana Barrett, lives in a skyscraper, and Rick Moranis lives down the hall.
Yep.
Sigourney Weaver opens her fridge one day, and she sees a demon dog that opens his mouth and screams the word Zool.
Yeah.
And it terrifies her. That causes her to contact the Ghostbusters. Lewis Tully.
And also the eggs on her counter are exploding.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Lewis Tully has a party for all his friends.
Who's Rick Moranis?
Who's Rick Moranis, yeah, sorry. And he opens a door to throw a coat on the bed, and there's a demon dog on the
love
bed.
that part.
And the demon dog eventually chases him down. Sigourney Weaver's demon dog ends up possessing her. That is Zool, the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Who's also the key master.
Yeah.
And Rick Moranis is possessed by his demon dog named Vince Clortho.
I love this whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll just have to keep myself from being like, yeah, it's so good at everything you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the two of them apparently seem to have sex.
Yes.
He's the gatekeeper. She's the key master. Key and lock.
Right.
They make out, and then suddenly the top of the building explodes.
Things are open. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that causes causes Gozer to come into our dimension.
Yes.
And it is learned then when Gozer is taunting the Ghostbusters and saying like, "Are you a god?" and they're cracking jokes. She appears in the form of a woman wearing like a suit made out of bubbles.
Yep.
And speaks in a deep exorcist-like voice, and eventually asks them to choose the form that she will take to destroy the world.
Which is an awesome thing to ask of somebody.
Choose the form.
Yeah, choose the way that I will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that becomes a giant part of Gozer lore, where Gozer now
Gozlore.
is described as traveling. Gozer the Traveler travels to different realities, different dimensions, and always chooses a hero who must pick the form of their destruction.
Ooh, cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that rules.
So the Ghostbusters go like, all right, everybody empty your mind. Don't think of anything. If we think of J. Edgar Hoover is going to show up and destroy us.
And kill us.
Dan Aykroyd screws up, and he thinks of the mascot for his marshmallow, his favorite
brand
camping
marshmallows.
marshmallow s'more, whatever. He thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and suddenly Gozer appears as a several stories tall marshmallow monster.
Yep.
And they cross the streams of their proton packs and destroy it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the plot of Ghostbusters 1. Ghostbusters 2 is all about rivers of slime under New York City.
Yep.
Basically, I didn't know this because when I was a kid, I just thought it was another awesome Ghostbusters movie. For most people, they consider it to be a lesser movie, a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Just slime everywhere, almost like they were getting gacked on Nickelodeon.
Yes. It's like glowing pink slime.
Yeah. Now, they never made Ghostbusters 3. Everybody wanted them to come back, make Ghostbusters 3, but they never, ever, ever did. However, in 2009, Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd got together and wrote Ghostbusters the video game. It was an Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 game that reunited all the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, who played Winston? Winston Zeddemore?
God, what the hell is his name? What's going on with me?
Ernest
Hudson.
Ernie Hudson.
Yeah.
Ernest Hudson.
Ernest Hudson.
That is his full name. Like when you try to send someone to the room and you're like,
You're his mom.
Ernest Hudson, go to your room.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray. They got Bill Murray to come back.
Yeah.
So the four of them are in the game, and the plot is written by the original creators, and what they did was awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. I watched Will play it like I was just watching a movie or a show or something.
Ghostbusters, the video game from 2009, is Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah, it fully is. I don't remember it at all, though. I remember watching it, but I'm excited to hear about it.
It's been several years since they fought Gozer. It's been something like 7-ish years since they fought Gozer.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years since they discovered rivers of slime under the city. And what they discover next in the game is so good.
Yeah.
Dana Barrett, Sigourney Weaver, her apartment building was designed by an architect named Ivo Shandor.
Yeah.
Who this part they discover in the first movie. I should have said it already. Harold Ramis talks about how the building was designed by Ivo Shandor, an architect who was obsessed with Gozer, and basically designed the apartment building to be a gigantic tuning fork for spiritual activity.
Right, which is fully awesome.
He designed it to draw in ghosts and to work as a gateway specifically for Gozer. After World War I, Ivo Shandor decided that humanity was too sick to survive. And so he dedicated his life to trying to bring Gozer and its destructor form into the physical world.
Yeah.
Ivo Shandor died. However, he was successful, and obviously in the first movie, here comes Gozer.
Right.
There is Gozer. Oh, also they describe Ivo Shandor as having done a lot of unnecessary surgery.
Ooh.
In the first movie, Harold Ramis goes like, he was an architect and a physician who was known for doing a lot of unnecessary surgery. And he smiles through it because, Egon, Harold Ramis's character, is a scientist.
Yeah.
Who's, kind of sick.
Yeah. He's like weird and kind of like,
kind of into it.
Smirky. Yeah.
So in the video game now, the Ghostbusters get called in to get Slimer again, whatever. Essentially, the video game is what you might expect, where it's like excuses to do all the stuff that you would want to do if you were playing a Ghostbusters game. You got to catch Slimer. You got to go back to the hotel where Slimer was. You got to fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Which, thank God, kind of. It sucks when I feel like, well, I guess it depends, but like, give the people what they want. Kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. So they definitely do that, but they found the most creative solution to explain why you're doing this stuff again.
Okay.
Because it's not like the plot of the first movie. You're just in Ghostbusters 1.
Yeah.
It's taking place 7 years later.
Right.
So they go, Slimer gets loose. They go, and he immediately goes back to the hotel where he came from. They're like, why does he keep coming back here? It's like he's drawn here.
Yeah.
That's a big.
Oh.
Then as they catch him, they look out the window and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is walking around Times Square. And they're like, what is Gozer doing here?
Oh, yes.
And they run outside, and now you're running through the streets of New York City, capturing ghosts on your way to fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd.
Is that song playing?
They play. They play. They don't play a lot of the like copyright music.
Yeah.
Or like the other artist music. But they have the score and everything.
Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah. So Dan Aykroyd, as they're walking around, he's like, "What is Gozer doing here? He shouldn't be back in this realm. That's impossible. We destroyed him in 1994."
That's a really good Dan Aykroyd.
I've been working my Dan Aykroyd for years.
I feel like you've really honed it.
And in that game, he says that Gozer, when you choose a destructive form for him, and they were all like, "What's wrong with you?" in 1994 when he picked the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
They're like, "He's lost his mind. What's going on?" Now in the video game, he's like, "I can't believe it. He's still stuck in his Stay Puft Marshmallow form. I wonder if Gozer's trapped in whatever form you pick for him per dimension. I guess the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man wasn't such a bad choice after all." And it's like, that's actually, I really enjoy that as an explanation.
Yeah.
If Gozer has a form in your dimension.
Right. That's the only form he can take.
Stuck in that form. And so now in retrospect, it was a joke in the first movie, right? It's a gag to have the Ghostbusters fight a big silly thing.
Yeah.
And, even though it's redundant to do it in the video game, the joke works on another level because he's like, it's actually a good thing,
right,
that this is a giant marshmallow man because we know how to defeat it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's really clever, I feel. So then the plot basically goes as follows. I have a big thing about movies. Well, I guess more so when I was younger than now. Mm-hmm. I used to be really into the idea of a perfect trilogy. Mm-hmm. A lot of movie trilogies, I notice, the first movie is usually awesome and really novel and creative. Mm-hmm. Then for the second movie, the creative team seems to want to go in the opposite direction, try to surprise everybody. Yeah. And that sequel is usually not as highly regarded. Yeah. Indiana Jones 2, Die Hard 2, Jurassic Park 2, like a bunch of things. Yeah. And then, you're right. And then for the third movie, if it's the same creative team, they usually go, well, it was a bad idea when we subverted expectations. Let's just give everybody what they
bring it on home. Yeah, exactly.
Indiana Jones 3, Die Hard 3. Yeah. They all try to do what the first movie did and sometimes they're incredibly successful.
Yeah.
So I
Scream
feel
3, not so much.
yeah, that's definitely true. Well,
Yeah.
there are arguments. To be
That's
made
an
about
outlier.
that. It is, but so this game, I'm telling you, it holds to that theory so much that it just reinforces in my head that this video game is a really underrated, often ignored part of the like Ghostbusters world.
It absolutely is. I bet a lot of people just don't even know about the fact that it was like written by and involving all the same people. That is very cool and insane.
Yeah, they even wrote the script to include Sigourney Weaver, and she turned it down because she thought, well, video games.
She was busy doing Dave.
Video
too.
games, who cares? Dave, what is that?
I don't know. Dave is a movie where like I think she's a politician or something. I don't remember.
I have no idea. I'm not.
I just pulled a random Sigourney Weaver movie out of my ass.
So she turned them down.
Yeah.
And then she saw how much fun everybody was having, and she was like, "Oh, I should have done that."
Yeah.
And immediately signed up to do an Alien game where she reprised the role of Ellen Ripley.
Really?
Yes.
Is that cool and good?
I haven't really played it that much. What I saw is pretty cool though.
Yeah.
But so Bill Murray was written to be in much more of the game than he ultimately is in because he's Bill Murray. He would show up super late and do like 5 of his lines and go like, "Cool, that's lunch." And they'd be like, "No, it's not. Can you please finish your lines?" He'd be like, I think I'm gonna go home." I'd be like, "Are you gonna come in tomorrow?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow." And then he'd come over like 2 days later and record like 3 more lines.
Yeah.
So they had to drastically rewrite stuff because Bill Murray just didn't show up on the right day and stuff.
He's a weird dude.
He is a weird dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, what the story is from there, Ivo Shandor, the architect who designed Sigourney Weaver's building as a tuning fork for the paranormal and a gateway for Gozer.
Yeah.
They now explain it's not just that he was obsessed with Gozer. He was the head of the 20th century Gozer cult.
Yes.
He and a lot of other powerful business leaders
So good.
in Manhattan in the 1920s. So the person that was the chairman of the Natural History Museum, the person that ran the Sedgwick Hotel, the biggest hotel in the city, they basically each made those buildings a node in a mandala. So it's essentially turning all of Manhattan into one gigantic portal.
That's so awesome.
For the spirit world. So in 1984, when they fought Gozer at the top of 55 Central Park West at Sigourney Weaver's apartment, that was just one of the mandala nodes. And so now in the video game, now that we know this, we're going to all the other places.
Right.
So you fight your way through a museum that
That's so sweet.
which, by the way, has a Gozer exhibit now because people are now like, well, what was Gozer? What was that thing that we saw 7 years ago?
Right.
So they're studying like ancient stones from like from Sumeria.
That's
Whatever.
awesome.
It's so cool. And that was how Gozer came back into our realm because the Cult of Gozer is mostly made of dead people.
Is it called the Cult of Gozer, or does it have any like weird name or anything?
I don't think so. I think they're just like Gozer worshipers.
There was a cult. Yeah.
But they're all dead, but that doesn't stop anything.
Yeah.
You go to Ivo Shandor's house where Ivo Shandor's followers are still performing rituals as ghosts.
That's so good. Yeah.
To power up Gozer. Now, you stop the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, that means you've stopped Gozer a second time. Ivo Shandor now becomes the big bad guy of the game.
Yeah.
Essentially, he goes, I've tried to summon Gozer to this realm twice, and both times Gozer failed me. Maybe Gozer's not that great.
Ooh.
And now Ivo
Is this
Shandor
like the crescendo of the game?
Crescendo.
Yeah.
Ivo Shandor decides, enough of this. I am going to be the new destructor.
Ooh.
And so Ivo Shandor, the architect, builds his palace in Ghost World, like in another dimension. He's the architect of that realm, so he's able to like shift staircases around you, shift walls around you, and he uses the all the spirits trapped in that mandala to power up as his own destructor.
Yeah.
He's now going to be the most powerful thing.
So what does Ivo Shandor look like?
He looks like, well, this is actually great for like even talking about the original concept for the movie. When they were originally writing and planning Ghostbusters 1 in 1983 to come out a year later, they were trying to decide what is it going to look like when Gozer appears.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what we got was almost like a bodybuilder lady with a flat top.
Yeah, she had like a Grace Jones, like Annie Lennox vibe.
Yeah, exactly. But that was what they landed on. Eventually, they were like, no, let's go more androgynous. They almost wanted like a David Bowie kind of vibe. But what they originally were planning to do was that Gozer was going to enter our realm in the form of Ivo Shandor. And it was going to be Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman.
Oh my God.
As just a sort of nondescript, polite person wearing a suit.
Ooh, I would have been into that.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Would have been like, are you a god?
You know, just nondescript, just like a regular guy, but he has all these powers. Yeah.
Do your Pee Wee.
The word of the day is,
That was great.
Gozer, conky. Conky
Now you're
moving.
being conky?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm done.
That was really cool.
That's it.
But yeah, so he's supposed to just look like some guy.
Yeah.
In the video game, they gave him more of like an Anton LaVey, like pointed beard and stuff.
Yeah. Also sweet.
Yeah,
That
also
sounds great.
sweet.
Does he dress like kind of a dandy?
Kind of. I mean, he's wearing like a
was
black
picturing
suit.
it. Okay, yeah.
But when you face off against him, he's been possessing the mayor, Jock Cranley.
Oh my God.
For the whole game?
Jock and not Jacques?
Jock. Played by Brian Doyle Murray.
Jock Cranley.
Bill Murray's brother.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I bet he was a little bit more available than Bill.
Probably.
Yeah. Is that like the guy who's in Wayne's World and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
And so when you first face off against him, he's holding Gozer's skull. And so you have, it's like a human-looking skull with black hair and a flat top to mimic the actress that played the human form of Gozer in the movie.
Yeah.
And he eventually just tosses it to the ground.
Oh, ooh.
So Gozer's
a real
story,
departure from somebody who was worshiping Gozer.
I know, which makes him only, all the more dangerous.
Yes, all the more erratic. You
Which
really
I
don't know what
also-
this guy's going to do. You at least think that you understand his deal. This guy's obsessed with Gozer.
Yeah.
And then if he's like, screw Gozer, then you're like,
Whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I also like that they took back the guy that they mentioned in the first movie and made him the ultimate villain.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
that's
like,
so
that's
sweet.
really cool. And the rivers of slime from Ghostbusters 2 that nobody liked.
Yeah.
They now explain that that's flowing under the city because Ivo Shandor and the other powerful businessmen realized that it had like psychic properties.
Yeah.
And so they were responsible for funneling it under New York City to try to like breed contempt and mistrust in the people of the city.
I love that. I don't
So it's
remember any of
all
this.
built in.
Yeah.
Everything in Ghostbusters 1, 2, and the video game
Yeah, it was
because
it
of
has a
Ivo
cause.
Shandor and his worshippers.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I love it.
And they eventually defeat him again, of course, by crossing the streams
of
the
course,
proton packs.
of course, it's probably really satisfying.
It's super satisfying.
Yeah.
The game is so fun.
Yeah.
It is so good. It's so much better than it has any right to be. I highly advise everybody track it down. I'm like a super dork.
Yeah.
I originally had it on Xbox. Then I got rid of my Xbox, so I bought it on PlayStation. Then I found out there's a version of it for the Nintendo Wii that doesn't have the realistic graphics. It has kind of cartoony graphics and a few differences. So I bought that.
Yeah.
I bought it on my PC. I bought it for my Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
I love this game.
You
It
gotta
is
have
so
it.
well done.
Yeah.
And like one way or another, even if you're not a gamer, I feel like you really have to respect the fact that the creators came together and really tried to make something that one would give gamers the feeling of getting to do some of the more famous things from Ghostbusters.
yeah, like you are a Ghostbuster.
But at the same time, advancing the story and tying it all together with like a big bow. Like I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
More so by the writing than anything else, that it ties it all together.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I bet, like, I don't know, but I bet if you went on YouTube, there's probably like a super cut of like cut scenes and things like
Oh,
that. That
absolutely.
happens like all the time. So you could probably even look that up and then just like watch it as a story without playing the game.
I
So that
guarantee.
sounds so awesome. I'm going to do that now because I know I watched you play it, but I don't remember it. I watched you play that and Batman Arkham Asylum.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that game is also really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guarantee if you look up Ghostbusters, the video game, the movie, I guarantee you can find it. Throw in HD as well. That'll probably help. But yeah, you can absolutely watch that and treat it like it's the third movie in a franchise that never got to finish.
Yeah.
It feels like a conclusion.
Yeah.
At the end of it, they even set up, they go like, you're not playing as one of the four Ghostbusters. You're playing as a rookie, and the rookie doesn't talk. So there's not some new character that's in the
Yeah,
way.
that you have to like get used to. Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, at the end of the game, during the credits, they're like, you know what? You did a pretty good job, rookie. How would you like to start your own franchise? What do you want to start in, like Chicago, LA? What do you want to do? And I always thought that was Dan Aykroyd, who, you know, is also a businessman.
Yes, he's setting up for future projects.
Yes. And I always thought that meant that they were working on Ghostbusters 3 and it would take place in a different city, which would give it its own identity and explain why it's different people.
Right.
But we'd all know that it was all tied together. But no.
Right.
Instead, we got the reboot, 2016, Ghostbusters, which was like the subject of way too much controversy.
Yeah, like it was. I liked it, but I can see not liking it certainly, but not enough to warrant so much talk about it. Like there are movies that are like blah all the time, and remakes or continuations of other franchises and series. Like we don't freak out to the degree that people are freaking out about Ghostbusters.
I completely agree with you. Also, I did not like the movie.
Yeah, none of you guys did. When it ended, I was like,
I was so within the first 10 minutes, I was like, awesome. This is going to be fun.
The beginning is totally sweet.
There's like a guy walking around a house and he's talking about the history of it. And he's like, this is where P.T. Barnum got the idea to enslave elephants.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a weird, that's fun. Like I found that funny.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. And it had sort of like a spooky vibe. I thought it was going to be great. And then everyone's like farting and talking about Chinese food for the next 2 hours.
Well, yeah. Not a perfect movie, let's say.
It has some of the worst improv I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's like I remember loving the fight scene, like the big scene where they're all like battling it out.
Yeah.
But when I think about certain things in the movie, I'm like, oh, that sucked. But I guess that fight scene did a lot of heavy lifting for me.
There's a scene in the movie during that fight scene, because I'll agree with you. There's a scene where Kate McKinnon, who is amazing,
yeah, she's great.
I really, really like. She has the best part ever, where she is fighting the ghosts, and it doesn't make sense. They kill the ghosts. They don't capture the ghosts.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yes.
Very weird.
Yeah.
They just shoot the ghosts until they stop. They're ghosts.
Right. I guess they like vaporize.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But she has a moment where like the music is like building to a crescendo.
Yeah.
And she does like it's beautiful. It's amazing, and it's
super
exciting.
cool.
But the worst moment also comes in that scene where they just shoot Melissa McCarthy. The camera's way up high looking down at her. And it's clear that they just like, they went, all right, improvise, you're taunting the ghosts. And she's like, what should I look at? Is there anything to look at? And they're like, no, just put wherever you look, we'll put a ghost.
Yeah.
And they never did.
Yeah.
So it's just her in the frame. And she's going, that's right. I'll get you, and I especially don't like you. And they never cut to show what she's looking at or talking to. And it's miserable. It's one of the worst shots I've ever seen.
Have you seen it besides when we saw it in the movie theater?
Of course I have.
Okay, just making sure. I was like, how do you remember that? Yeah.
It could be the worst movie I've ever seen. I could hate it with like every fiber of my being, and I still would have seen it 10 times.
Yeah.
I love Ghostbusters.
I know.
I want more. I want them to do a sequel to
Me
that movie.
too. Is that still in talks? Yeah.
Not really.
Remember it like got fired up again more recently than you would think, the talk of a sequel or kind of like another reboot?
They really should make a sequel to that movie.
Yeah.
There is no better time to do it than when you realize what things to avoid. I mean, honestly, like that sounds like a backhanded sort of slam or whatever, but it's like they made a movie that a lot of people really panned and very specifically said what they didn't like about it.
Yeah.
You can fix all that stuff then. Make a sequel. It will be better.
I guess that people don't want to give them money to do that though. Like,
I know.
I'm not surprised there isn't a sequel. Like, what studio is going to throw a shit ton of money? Throw a ton of money at something that like everybody's talking about how much they hated.
I know, but at the same time, it's like that movie had too big a budget. I think that they tried to do too many like set piece crazy things. Like it should have just been more of like kind of walking around the street and having banter.
Yeah,
I feel.
I'm trying to remember what set piece crazy things were there besides the fight in Times Square, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that was huge. They had a dance scene.
Oh my god,
Kristen, that movie's bad. And I love the Ghostbusters. There's stuff I like about it, but it's also really bad.
I'm sure. I remember I was bopping in my seat when it ended.
Yeah. There's something amazing.
And that scream really made me laugh.
There's such a good opportunity in that movie that like got squandered real bad, and nobody even knows that it happened. So the movie ignores the original two sequels, which more than anything I think was the problem.
Yeah.
I think that people would have been fine.
Yeah, that's so weird. Yeah.
I think everybody would have been, I think people would have been able to get on board more easily with the all-female Ghostbusters, which was also just like a bad way to market it as if it was leaving everyone behind.
I mean, I seriously don't remember. Maybe they did. Did they market it as the all-female Ghostbusters, or are people just referring to it that way because it's all female and so that's like weird?
No, I think it was a little column A, a little column B. Like nobody freaked out about like all female Ocean's 8. Like, I feel
True.
like this was supposed to be like real aggressively, like,
Yeah.
this is not the thing you thought it was.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's like, but those are
That
the
rings a
people
bell.
that really, really, really want to see it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not even so much about being female. It's more about the messaging just being like, we're deliberately doing everything we can to have it not be the thing that you
Yeah, that rings
like.
a bell now that it
That,
was
I
like
think,
very,
was more the problem. But like, so they ignore, there is no connective tissue with the first two movies. It completely ignores them.
Yeah.
But in the fight in Times Square, I read parts of the script. They describe going to Times Square for the end of the movie as, tell me if this makes any sense to you at all. Like really try to think about whether or not you knew this.
Okay.
Times Square 2016, when they go there, turns into Times Square 1983.
What?
It does. Does that ring a bell?
No, not at all.
It happens in the movie. It is written in the script.
Do they reference it in speaking or just in the script? It's like stage direction.
It happens over the course of about like maybe 15 seconds. There's like a dissolve, and the current day billboards turn into old billboards.
Do they spend on your rewatch? Do they spend a lot of time on? Like, is that clear?
No.
That's so weird.
But they did it. They spent the time
What's the
to make
point?
the effect.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that was almost like a tear in the
Right. That's what it would sound like, but that obviously doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. What they really should have done. And I almost think that like once they were like, oh no, it's being poorly received in theaters, they should have just added this for the DVD. They should have just added the voice of Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, I would have gone nuts.
Off camera going like, Egon, look over there. And then it turns back into 2016 or something.
That,
just something.
William, you literally saying that just gave me a minor chill.
Yeah.
That would, if they kept that secret and then I was watching that movie and then that happened, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah. They needed something.
Yeah.
They needed something. The comic book writers kind of fixed it in a really cool way. I'm sorry. I'm spending so
Do
long
tell.
on this, but I'm going to try to wrap
way
it up.
into it.
So
what's, go ahead.
well, I do want to say that in
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2016, the entire time they're just fighting some guy, which I
Yeah.
actually really like.
Yeah.
But
I really don't remember. This is kind of making me want to watch it again.
I'll rewatch it.
Okay.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, after the credits, they're hanging out in the Ghostbusters firehouse.
Eating wonton soup with not enough wontons in it, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
No, that time I think she has too many wontons. I'm pretty sure.
How is there any such thing?
I'm pretty sure there are too many wontons in that soup at the end of that movie. Tell me
I
if
really
I'm
don't
wrong.
remember.
Does
I mean,
anyone
that
know?
sounds right.
Oh, insane. What a great joke.
Yeah. That's so. All right. Anyway.
Anyway, Leslie Jones, the best Ghostbuster.
Yeah. Leslie Jones is
in the new Ghostbusters.
hilarious.
She's the most. She feels like.
Yeah.
She's got the right vibe.
Yeah.
From the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
She's like one of the only ones that nailed the tone. She's listening to like almost like an EVP on a tape, and she takes her headphones off. She goes, "What's Zool?"
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which is supposed to be a tag for a sequel where I
Right,
guess
yeah.
Zool and Vince Glortho are going to come and
Yeah.
open the gateway to bring Gozer into that reality.
Yeah,
But
right.
that never happened. So that's
Right.
the only mention of Gozer in that movie. Although the bad guy does have a sort of destructor form, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Is that the after credit scene that happens in, or no?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. All of that so that I can sort of explain what people have done with Gozer.
Okay.
Some of it's really cool. Some of it's really not. I
Yeah.
think I'm actually just going to straight up prune some right now because I'm going like way too long on this.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think you're fine.
Okay. Let me read you a stupid thing real quick,
Okay.
actually. Well, I think this one's kind of cool, but it's also weird. This is in the
Okay.
comic books now, which I never read.
Yeah.
I downloaded a few. I wanted to get into them. It's hard. It's hard because they're trying to do the comedy and they're writing for Bill Murray, and you're like, that doesn't sound like
That
Bill
seems.
Murray.
I feel like it's hard to read comedy.
Yes,
sometimes.
I don't blame the writers at
Like
all.
fictional
It's just
comedy.
I find
Yeah,
it very
yeah.
hard to get into.
Yeah.
So when reading about Gozer appearing in the comics, there's
Yeah.
this entire paragraph. Okay.
Okay.
While performing a job for Woodrow Wainwright Fraser III,
That's a lot of name.
the Ghostbusters went up against 2/3 of the Ghosts of Christmas. The Ghost of Christmas Future took Peter and Egon to a possible apocalyptic future where Gozer returned in a different destructor form on Christmas, that of a giant talking worm with tentacles. Peter and Egon also experienced rapid aging and were approximately in their 60s. When I read that, I was like, that would have been a really smart way to do Ghostbusters 3
Yeah.
with the original
Explains.
cast in like 2010 or
Right.
something like that. Just like, shoot a scene of the firehouse,
Yeah.
whatever, them bantering. There's a zap, And then they're just sitting in the firehouse and they're like, and the firehouse should be dilapidated.
Yeah.
Like it should have the windows boarded up, but now they're just sitting at the same table in a room full of dust and they're like, what just happened? What the? Oh my God, your face.
Yeah.
So it should have
That'd
been
be
that
awesome.
for them, nothing skipped a beat, but suddenly it's been 20 years since the Ghostbusters have been seen.
Yeah.
And now they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
And they have to figure out what the hell just happened to them.
I'd be real down.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Anyway, the duo was without hope, as crossing the streams wouldn't be powerful without having the entire team. Then Egon was seemingly killed when Gozer crushed him. Harold Ramis is dead. I think it's weird to kill Egon.
Yes.
I don't know if this was written recently, though, so I'll give them some...
I don't love this.
Yeah. However, everyone was returned to the present when Peter wrangled the ghost of Christmas present. I basically read this because I think it's kind of hilarious that they're trying to find famous ghosts to fight. So they picked the Dickens Christmas Carol ghosts.
I don't like it.
Why do you have to
too
kill
weird.
them?
Yeah.
But at the same rate, I do think it's kind of cool to make evil versions of that where like the Ghost of Christmas Future can like rapidly age you. Like you can warp that in a kind of cool way, I think.
I don't know. I kind of like that there aren't any ghosts in Ghostbusters that are like familiar touchstones of things that you already know about.
You want
They
it
created
all to
their
be-
Yeah, I kind of want it to all be in that universe.
Someday somebody's going to publish Dan Aykroyd's like personal journal. And it's going to be the trippiest, nerdiest thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to love it.
Yeah, totally. Remember that special with him talking about UFOs and just like smoking cigarettes in a trailer?
Yeah, remember when he was on Larry King and Larry King cut him off so he would shut up? He started saying some pretty not great. Well, he was tying real life tragedy into why aliens wouldn't want to visit us anymore. And Larry King was like, "That's great. We got to go to Peter in San Diego."
Right.
Like just trying to do
say
anything.
some like crazy stuff. Yeah.
There's a whole arc in the comic books about Gozer trying to talk to somebody on the physical plane to abduct Dan Aykroyd's character so they could do a ritual so that Gozer can get a new destructor form.
Sweet.
Which
That's sweet.
I love that.
Yeah.
Rituals as like red tape.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
But you can't get a new destructor form unless you have the person that set your destructor form in the first place.
I like that. I like that a lot,
Yeah.
actually.
Gozer
Yeah.
is like, well, the marshmallow isn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this I thought was rad. This is how the writers, I thought, fixed the issue of Ghostbusters 2016 with the Ghostbusters, the original team.
Cool.
In a story arc, the Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, theorized that when they crossed the streams in 1984, it basically caused almost sort of a tear in the multiverse. It seeded the idea of the Ghostbusters in every version of reality.
Okay.
And so there are
makes
infinite
sense.
versions of
Yeah.
Ghostbusters out there
Yeah.
fighting in different versions of New York.
Yeah, that's cool.
Including
I like that.
2016.
Yeah.
With like Patty Tolan
Yeah.
and Dr. Leslie Jones.
I don't
Those are the same
remember it all.
person. It's
Yeah.
the same character.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how all the Ghostbusters meet. They then are able to travel through different realms.
Yeah.
So Egon and Bill Murray can meet Kate McKinnon
That sounds great to
in
me.
that world. And they, I guess, did almost a sequel to the 2016 movie by having Leslie Jones's character go like, I heard the word Zool on a tape. Does that mean if you fought him before, does that mean that we're destined to fight him soon in our world?
Oh, this is cool.
And together, the Ghostbusters theorize about Gozer and think that because Gozer is a traveler and travels to different worlds, maybe there are infinite multiverses, but Gozer is a singular being.
Yeah, that just
who
travels between them.
all of them.
Cool.
How cool is that?
I'm into that.
I love that.
I like that a lot. I also like that they always they worried about crossing the streams. That was like a scary thing. And that kind of pays it off. You kind of should have been something did happen when you crossed the streams. You had to do it, but there's a cost for what you had to do.
Yes, exactly. It ties everything back together.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that idea
That's
a whole
sweet.
lot, especially that people across multiple realities are going to have to figure out how to defeat this thing that is somehow singular.
Right.
There are not multiple versions.
Right.
Gozer is one thing.
Right. You can just bounce to another reality. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Here's the craziest thing. There was a comic book 2 years ago that came out called Ghostbusters Deviations. It was basically a what if story. A what if story about what if Gozer won.
Okay.
All right. Good God. All right. What happens then? He coats the city in marshmallows. He expels, quote, sentient poop, dubbed mini puffs.
Oh my God.
But Gozer was not pleased with being bound to the form of a Stay Puffed. It was disturbed by the sound of its voice and having its expression stuck in a smile and being adorable.
Well, fair enough.
It found
Gozer not liking that. Although you might like that because then you're kind of hiding in plain sight.
True. It found the only thing as tall as it were trees and buildings, and it was very lonely. It was a nightmare. The Stay Puft form was bound to the dimension, and Gozer was bound to the Stay Puft form. It wanted to go back to its home dimension to liberate itself from its form, but it could not do so by itself. Stay Puft walked to the firehouse and peeked through a hole in the ceiling at the Ghostbusters, greeting them with, "Hey guys, what's up?" That's what Gozer said in this comic.
Okay.
The Ghostbusters respond by shooting him. He spits on them. 7.5 minutes later, I don't know how that happens in a comic.
What?
The Ghostbusters finished processing what Gozer wanted. They agreed to help, but refused to cross the streams.
Wait, why are they helping him?
I don't know. So here's the thing. They agree to basically go back in time to choose a different
form to help him out?
Yeah.
What? Why? There must be. How do they even explain that in the book?
Well, get ready for some of the worst comedy I've ever read.
Okay.
Which is apparently actually in the book. I looked it up.
Okay.
They threaten that if he tries to double cross him, the form they'll pick for him is Loofah Joe rectangle shorts.
Yikes. Oof.
Loofah Joe
Oofa Joe.
rectangle
That's
shorts.
very funny.
Stay Puft was horrified at the prospect. Horrified. But argued this conversation wouldn't happen once it went back in time. So they go back in time. Gozer is now on the top of Sigourney Weaver's apartment building, fighting the Ghostbusters, and asks them to choose the form. And is about to, go like, you know what? I could kill them. I could just kill them.
Yeah.
But the Ghostbusters went back in time even further, and they hung pictures of Loofah Joe rectangle shorts all over the apartment building, and Gozer looked at them and got terrified.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I don't even understand. What do you mean?
They put posters of Loofah Joe all around the temple at the top of the building. And Gozer remembered, like, okay, well, you got me. I don't want to be Loofah Joe rectangle shorts. So it went back through its portal and disappeared from our realm.
What?
Possibly.
That is terrible. I feel like if you were reading that comic book, you'd be like mad at the end of that.
Quite possibly one of the worst things I've ever read.
That's terrible.
Loofah Joe.
Yeah.
Rectangle shorts.
No, I got it. SpongeBob SquarePants joke for anybody listening who it didn't click for.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
All right, and to wrap it up.
What a terrible way to end Gozer's legacy.
To wrap it up,
William,
I
bring
promise,
me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say some awesome stuff. It's really short and I'll be done.
Take me higher.
I swear.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. In an early draft, Gozer was noted as the absolute ruler of the sixth dimension. The word Gozer comes from a Chevrolet dealership in uptown New York.
Sweet.
Gozer is also another word for a moil.
Oh.
Snip, snip. I have in my notes here.
I see.
Yeah. I also should point out that Gozer was worshipped by the Hittites and Mesopotamians in 6000 BC. It was a cult that lasted thousands of years. Mm-hmm. And I should, it's really important. I would be a fool to not point this out. Gozer appeared during the rectification of the Valdrani. The Traveler came as a large and moving Tor. Then during the third reconciliation of the last of the Mechatrek supplicants, they chose a new form of him, that of a giant slore.
Oh, of course.
Many shoves and zools knew what it was to be roasted in the depths of a slore that day, I can tell you. And last but not least, the Enfield haunting.
Yeah.
Which evidently is one of the inspirations for Poltergeist. We talked about the Enfield haunting.
A little bit.
One of the most famous poltergeists in all of the UK.
Yeah.
The word Gozer was written over and over and over again on the walls.
Oh, that kind of rings a bell. That's crazy.
I did not know that. And that is so cool.
That's nuts.
That is where Gozer comes from. The word Gozer.
I feel like I remember hearing it being very confused. Like, what? How? What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The Enfield haunting, the Enfield poltergeist wrote Gozer on the wall. And Dan Aykroyd saw it.
Oh, boy.
In a dream. I don't know.
That poltergeist Joe or whatever.
But there you go. That is the full and way longer than I anticipated story of
whatever.
Gozer.
Whatever.
Gozer the Gozerian.
I'd be happy for you to Gozer on longer.
Gozer the Destructor of Volga Johar, Gozer the Traveler, and Lord of the Sibulia.
Of course, of course. Sibulia sounds like a delicious soup or something. I
love those words. I love hearing it in my head as Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
You know, he has a cameo in that 2016 movie as a cab driver, and he goes, I just saw, a Phase 4 Roman, Vector down the street. and he's not supposed to be playing Ray Stantz. So you're like, why does that cab driver know about this thing? And then you start going like, why couldn't they just play the characters we liked?
Right.
What's happening?
This is all unraveling.
Yeah, something's wrong. I feel wrong.
I don't feel good.
I don't feel so good. I do also want to say that what they should do, because they formed Ghost Corps at Sony, which is headed by Ivan Reitman, who directed the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
It's exclusively a department just to make new Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been doing anything since 2016.
Yeah, right.
I've heard that they're working on an animated movie. I was very disappointed to find out that it's a Slimer movie.
Oh, right.
So that's coming our way.
Yes,
What they should have done is take all the audio of the Ghostbusters video game and animate it to make Ghostbusters 3 with the original cast.
Yeah.
Get Bill Murray to record some more of the lines that he refused to record.
If he's not too busy crashing a 25-year-old party or whatever.
And have Sigourney Weaver, who didn't want to do it in the first place, give her the opportunity to come back and fix that part.
Because she did want to do it in the end.
She did want to do it in the end. You can make Ghostbusters 3. You can still make it right. Sony,
there's still time.
Ivan Reitman, that's what you should do. That is what you should do. And you should then re-release Ghostbusters, the video game, in HD so that I can play it again anew.
And I can watch him play it again.
So anyway.
Okay. William, I'm glad that you brought Sigourney Weaver back up. I'm going to read you guys the plot of the movie Dave that I referenced earlier and that I looked up briefly and didn't say anything because it actually kind of plays into my subject tonight.
Are you kidding me?
No, I am not.
Shut up.
Okay. Shifty White House Chief of Staff Bob Alexander, Frank Langella, hatches a scheme to use a double for the president, Kevin Kline, at a public photo opportunity. Small business owner Dave Kovic Kline fits the bill, but after the president suffers a debilitating stroke, opportunist Alexander arranges for Dave to step in full-time without even informing the First Lady, Sigourney Weaver. It doesn't take long before the press, the nation, and the president's wife realize something is different. This is an entirely different man.
Okay.
That's
bizarre.
You know who there are also rumors about somebody stepping in and replacing, William?
No way.
One Paul MF McCartney, whose birthday was yesterday, or was it?
Oh my God, Kristen.
William, Paul is dead.
I am so excited.
This is a good one.
I'm so excited.
This is a good one. I think we referenced this in like one of the first episodes because I thought it was what your subject was for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I remember you were going to do something and I was like, is it Paul's dead?
There are a lot of people that didn't want to hear about Gozer who have been fast forwarding, waiting until we were talking about something real.
I don't know. Gozer's totally sweet.
I'm telling you.
Whatever.
It's a good thing we named both topics in the title of the show because I feel like people are going to be like, I don't want to hear about something that Dan Aykroyd wrote.
I don't know. I think you might be surprised.
But I'm thrilled to hear about
I was captivated by that. So what do you know about the whole Paul is dead thing?
Not much. I know that there's some song where they think if you play it backwards, you hear Paul is dead.
Uh-huh.
I know the Abbey Road cover.
Yep.
But I'll leave that to you.
Uh-huh.
And I know there's some sort of secret message in Sgt. Pepper's cover.
Yep.
But other than that, I know that a bunch of people put up 2 pictures of Paul McCartney and circle parts of his face and claim that they don't look the same.
That are the same. Just a person's face aging.
They'll put up 2 pictures of Paul McCartney and circle both noses as if they're different, and they aren't.
It is so ridiculous, this thing. It's so crazy. So I asked Mom earlier today what she remembered of the whole Paul is dead thing, because my mom was like, around into the Beatles and stuff at that point, because the rumors started in 1969.
Okay.
And she said that she heard it and everything, and it was like in newspaper, like they didn't take it seriously, but like in newspapers and tabloids and everything, but just like nobody really believed it, at least in her world.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Obviously there's some people who believe it.
There are. Mom told me you had monster strength today.
Wait, what? Oh, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone. She said that you moved a bench.
Yeah.
Dragged it out to the garbage herself.
Yeah, she crushed it.
She goes, it was like she had monster strength. It's awesome.
I should have been the mini monster madness this week.
Yeah, mega monster.
Kristen picked up a bench and threw it away for our mom.
It was spinning on her finger like a basketball.
Yeah.
She walked down the street.
I felt like Wonder Woman. Mom was so amazed. It wasn't that heavy.
Yeah.
But it made me feel on top of the world. Because she was like, I can't believe you did that. I started to be like, me neither. Okay, so the rumor started up in 1969, kind of weirdly. I don't know if it was because people just started to like notice weirdnesses in records and stuff like that and sort of formulate it.
Yeah.
So the way that it ended up taking off was that colleges and underground papers started printing these stories claiming that Paul McCartney was dead. And I'll explain to you what their theory is and everything in a minute. But one of the most popular theories and reasons for, as evidence of him being dead was that if you play the song Revolution Number 9, which is on their White Album, backwards, it kind of sounds like John Lennon says, "Turn me on, dead man."
Oh, that's what it is. Right.
There are a few.
Okay.
That's not the only one. It does sound like that,
But
but
what
like,
does that mean?
yeah, like what? Turn me on, dead man.
Turn me on, dead man. Can we find that?
Paul, yeah. Like Paul is dead, and like I buried Paul, which I'll get to. Like those at least make like what the hell does "turn me on, dead man" mean?
Yeah, I don't know what that could possibly mean.
Right, unless that was like an inside joke between them. I guess you could argue that. You're like, well, maybe it was an inside whatever.
Yeah.
So it seems to have blown up nationally and everything, or I guess worldwide because the Beatles were so huge. When a college student called into a radio show to discuss the Paul is dead theory, and the radio host was just like, "What? No, whatever." And the college student was like, "No, play Revolution Number 9 backwards. Just play it." So then the DJ played it, or the radio host played it backwards and was like, okay, interesting. And then the boards were lighting up for this radio station with people calling to talk about it and everything, and just kind of grew from
That's
there.
awesome.
I know.
That must have been so exciting.
Oh, totally. That you're like, oh my God, I just found something.
Yeah.
And then so fun and exciting to look for these clues and decode and everything. So what the rumor is, what the theory is about how Paul died and everything was that in the morning in 1966, his car skidded off an icy road and crashed into a pole.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, that is true. There was a car crash with his car, but he wasn't driving the car at the time, and the person wasn't killed. So I almost wonder, I didn't find anything that said this or anything, if somehow some Beatles fan came across maybe a police report for a crash or something like that. And they're like, oh, this was Paul McCartney's car. It crashed headfirst into a pole. How could somebody survive something like that? Well, maybe they didn't. How did this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, just because it's his car doesn't mean he's in it.
Right.
But I guess their theory is he definitely was.
Yeah. Yes. It's so.
This was his car.
Right.
So he must have been
nobody
in
else
it.
could be possibly driving somebody else's car.
It's not possible.
So the theory is that the remaining Beatles were afraid of how it would impact them because they really would have to worry about taking a hit popularity-wise if Paul died, but whatever.
Right.
Was worried about how it would affect them PR-wise. So they decided to replace him with a perfect look-alike, sound-alike, everything alike named Billy Shears.
Right, because
Yes.
Of
in
course.
Right before A Little Help from My Friends in Sgt. Pepper's, there's a thing where it's Billy Shears.
and
yeah.
then Ringo sings.
Yes, and then Ringo sings.
So of course it means Paul.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
They had
There he
Ringo
is.
sing because Paul was
Billy
dead,
Shears.
and they needed someone to sing that song, and they were like, well, nobody could do justice. We'll just have Ringo do it, I guess. There's no point in even having John or somebody. It's just so some of these theories, I have no idea where they got this information. Say that Shears was an orphan who at one point had won a Paul lookalike contest. Other people say that it was somebody from MI5, which is the British CIA, basically.
Yeah.
That they came in to take care of this and keep public spirits up. We'll find you a perfect Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. But the remaining 3 members started to feel guilty about this cover-up, and they started wanting to leave little clues for people to see, to kind of alleviate their guilt and be able to tell people and unburden themselves without fully telling it.
So the government allowed them to say the guy's real name in a song?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's right. Well, no, if it was the government, that was probably a guy's fake name or something. If it was MI5.
Well, but I'm saying
They're
Billy
separate
Shears.
things. It's either Billy Shears or an MI5 person. Billy Shears is not the MI5 person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were trying to cover it up. Mm-hmm. So then, all right, hold on.
Sure.
They're trying to cover it up themselves. So they say Billy Shears is here.
Right, correct. Because they are feeling guilty and they want to start leaving breadcrumbs for people to figure this out on their own without them actually giving up the ghost, so
if
to
they were
speak,
feeling
of Paul.
guilty, couldn't they have just given up the ghost and like been like, our friend is dead?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you could, if we're living in this dream world scenario, if they did this in the first place so that there wouldn't be like a PR problem, they could keep going. It is much worse to announce that you've been faking Paul being alive than Paul dying in the first place. So if you're thinking about like PR issues, I think that you would just keep going.
I guess no such thing as bad press, though, right?
I guess, but that's really weird.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. Like, their albums would sell like even hotter hotcakes.
Their albums did sell. I mean, they were obviously fine anyway, but their albums, there was like a big uptick in sales in 1969 when this started being a thing.
Which is also interesting because that's when the Beatles ended. Beatles were like from 61 to 69, something like that.
Is that right? I can't remember. Is it 69?
Yeah, I think so. I think like they were only together for 9 years either way.
Right. For some reason, I think it's early 70s, but I might be wrong. Maybe it
were
is
the Beatles
69
together. Because I'm 62
70.
to 70.
Okay.
So yeah, they were almost gone. It
Yeah.
almost feels like a record company doing that to drum up more sales because the Beatles are going away or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't remember the whole story about it. I remember I read a book that Mom had about the Beatles, everything, like breakup and everything. I think it was like somewhat sudden. Like, not like insanely sudden, but I don't think they were like telling the record company like this thing's going south. Like, they were just kind of like they're kind of over it, basically. Okay, so this is where people say the clues started, where John, Ringo, it's actually hard not to say John, Paul, George, Ringo.
Yeah.
John, George, and Ringo started to be like, you know what, we have to get this off our chest. I can't take the weight of this anymore. So it started with Sgt. Pepper's, which came out a year after he died. So the theory is, and there's actually a lot to this theory. I kind of picked the ones I think are the most interesting, that the cover isn't like a gathering, like a party or a parade or something. It's a funeral for Paul. So like in front of where they are and their like band leader getup and everything, there's like open dirt kind of, but there's also flowers in it. It's just that it's not like a perfect field. And that Paul's sleeve has a patch on it that if you very much zoom in, the patch says OPD, which people think stood for officially pronounced dead.
What?
However, it was actually an Ontario police patch. It was the Ontario Provincial Police patch.
I mean. All right. Okie dokie.
Then in the liner notes where the lyrics are and everything, when you like open up the book.
Wait, Paul McCartney, PM, Pretty Muerte.
Oh my God. You're right.
That means exactly as much as what you just read.
Yeah, it's the same.
Exactly as meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then the other thing with the with Sgt. Pepper's is that in the liner notes with the lyrics and everything, first of all, everybody is facing you, like you're seeing everybody head on, except Paul is turned around. You're only seeing his back, which is fun and weird.
That is cool.
And George Harrison's finger, he's like standing funny, his finger's like pointing up or something. It's pointing at the lyric Wednesday morning at 5:00, which people say is when Paul died.
Oh,
so George is like, yeah.
Oh, but I love that.
It's so good, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mentioned it already, but then later that year they put out Magical Mystery Tour. 67 was like a really like full throttle year for the Beatles.
It all was. They only
Yeah, I
existed
know.
for 9 years and they did all of that.
But still, in 1 year, Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour?
Yeah.
Those are both such huge undertakings. They both have like movies attached to them.
They went from Ed Sullivan,
It's
like singing
insane.
about wanting to hold your hand, to doing all of this like, trippy like music inspired by India.
Yeah.
Like they were busy.
Yes.
That's like one of the most prolific periods of time.
I didn't
like,
realize
ever.
specifically 1967 housed both of those, though. That's
It's
crazy.
insane. It's crazy.
So at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever, there's this like weird part at the very end of it where you can hear like, I buried Paul. I buried Paul. And there's like flutes going on behind it. So people say it's I buried Paul.
Yeah.
But he's actually saying cranberry sauce.
Which looks a lot like blood, though, don't you think?
Good point. Just being like a weirdo, basically.
cranberry sauce.
Have you listened to much of the Beatles Anthology that came out in the 90s? Where it's like,
I think so.
Just like studio. Yeah, I was obsessed with it. It's like there are 3 different sets in it. It's like really, really long. But it's like all these just like weird unfinished studio tapes and everything where you can hear them just like joking around and being weird.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
But so I bet that was it. I bet they were just being weirdos and then they just like used cranberry sauce.
For the record, this can't be right.
What?
It's saying that like 7 albums were released in 1964.
I mean, could that be right?
Introducing the
I mean,
Beatles.
maybe at the time, maybe they're like, what do you call them? Like LPs.
Okay.
Or EPs, I can't remember which one. But like where it's just like a few songs on an album. Maybe that was like more of a thing back then because they probably wanted to pump out singles because they were so huge.
Okay,
you
yeah,
know?
maybe.
I feel like that might be what the deal is. And then so the White Album came out and the Revolution number 9 thing that I said where if you play that backwards, you hear Turn Me On, Dead Man.
We should listen to these at the end of this. It might take me a second to get the audio right, so we'll do it at the end.
I wasn't sure whether we would be allowed to do that. I guess we would. I mean, it's in YouTube videos. Like I listened.
No, you know what? I don't think we can.
Because I started like finding them to send to you, and I was like, I bet you're not allowed to do that.
No, there's like a very stern warning specifically about Spotify. Everything we publish gets pushed to the same places.
Yeah.
Spotify in particular is like if you have 1 second of material you don't own, we will delist you. You won't be on the app anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we won't.
And then I think I know in general, it's like you can have under 30 seconds of a licensed song, but I guess Spotify doesn't even allow that.
Even that's not necessarily true. It's really wacky.
Yeah, really upset. Well, guys, if you Google or put in YouTube these things, you can find the audio for it.
I mean, just to illustrate the point, the episode that we did about Kabooterplop,
Oh, that's right.
that Swedish show about gnomes.
The long arm of the law came down on us for that.
That episode's not on Spotify because we got a warning.
Yes.
For it.
From Kabooterplop HQ.
Yeah, it's a children's show about gnomes.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess we won't be putting Beatles music in here.
Yeah, I think
Right.
not.
Good point.
Yeah.
I should have remembered that. I should have remembered being
Whatever.
chastised by Kabooterplop.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody's
That
gonna have to
didn't
look
make
it up on
enough of an
their own.
impact?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so also on the White Album, besides the Revolution number 9 thing, between I'm So Tired and Blackbird, it kind of like goes one into the other. There's a transition. If you play that part backwards, then it's John saying, Paul is dead, man. Miss him, miss him.
Wow.
It does sound like that.
That's cool.
But again, like the same way that like Turn Me On, Dead Man is like, okay, what does that mean? If you're going to say Paul is dead, miss him, it's kind of weird that it's like miss him, miss him. That doesn't seem like something that somebody would do.
I don't understand how backtracking works. Is it really a voice speaking forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that he was saying something that was in forward motion in that transition, and then when you make it backwards, it sounds like the other
So
thing.
you're hearing it backwards when you play the record straight.
No, I'm saying you hear it straight when you play the record straight, and then you hear it backwards and hear him say, Paul is dead, man, miss him, or whatever it is.
But if you play the record backwards, you hear him say the words Paul is dead.
Yes,
miss him.
yes.
So you're hearing it forwards as you spin the record backwards. So if you spin
yeah,
the record
but not
forwards,
really. I'm
you
saying
hear
it's
it
still backwards. I think it's just a fluke. I don't think it's genuine.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
it's something that sounds like something else.
Yes. I don't think that he's really saying Paul is dead, man, miss him. I think it's a coincidence that it sounds like that.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes...
So it's everything is backwards.
So
it
it
just
isn't-
happens to sound that way backwards.
So it's a Rorschach test.
Yes.
You're seeing what you want to see.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I think that with all the backwards things.
Well, then how does anyone do that? You know what I mean? Because there are people that deliberately put in...
Right. I think they must make it backwards on, if you were listening to it straight up, like without turning backwards. I think they do have something that makes it sound backwards, so that when you actually do play it backwards and they're being intentional about it, that it sounds forward.
Kristen, say a secret message right now.
You're sure for natural.
Okay. That's not what I expected, but okay. All right. Let's move on. Miss the wonders of white.
Okay. So then, so the cover of Abbey Road, which is really iconic, like everybody can probably think of what that looks like. That's the Beatles like walking on a crosswalk.
Yeah.
So people say that that is symbolically a funeral procession for Paul that they like cobbled together basically. So they say, so John, I'm going to go in order from like right to left of them walking. Like John is at the front basically. So John is wearing all white because he's the preacher. Ringo is in black because he's the undertaker. Then there's Paul, who I'll talk about in a second. George is in the back wearing blue jeans because he's the grave digger. And then Paul is wearing black and he's out of step with the others. Plus he's barefoot. So it's all symbolizing like the body and a corpse. He's out of step with them. He's dead. They're alive. And then there's...
I love that so
I do
much.
too. It's so
like
sweet.
It's creating significance because it's,
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
But it's so creative.
Yeah.
It's such a good explanation.
It's an awesome idea. I love the thought of it. And then this is something that is a reach, and it would be sweet if it did work and make sense, but it doesn't. It's just off. So I hadn't heard this part of it until today. The Volkswagen that's in the background of the shot has a license plate that says 28 IF, like 28 if. So it's Paul would be 28 if he were alive.
Oh.
However, he would be 27 and was 27 because he was alive.
That's still really close.
Yeah, but 28, like, no, you got to be on it or no cigar.
Yeah, but even if he was like 30, it would be so far be weird. Like, it's really weird that there is a license plate that's almost his exact age in the background.
Yeah, but if the point is he'd be 28 if he was alive and he's not that age.
I completely agree with you that it doesn't work at all. I'm just saying it is weird that, like, there was yet another very convenient thing in the frame that you could very nearly use to support an insane theory.
Yeah. So basically, John Lennon, with all this swarming around, at one point he said the theory was the stupidest rumor he's ever heard. He was like, "This is so dumb." And Paul McCartney ended up putting out a live album called "Paul Is Live" in 1993.
That's awesome.
Paul McCartney, who puts out a lot of good album names, like what was it, like "Kisses on the Fanny" or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
This rings a bell, but
what the hell was it? I should have looked it up. Put Paul McCartney "Kisses" on.
That should be like a series.
Yeah.
Like Paul McCartney kisses on golf. Paul McCartney kisses on Paul McCartney.
It's something that ends up making sense in like kisses on the bottom. That's what it is.
Kisses on the bottom.
It's supposed to be kisses on the bottom of like a letter, if I remember correctly. Like you like writing a letter and then like writing like XX, but like
kisses on the bottom.
Kisses on the bottom.
That's
Come on.
wonderful.
I know. And so I briefly want to
the
mention...
Paul McCartney is Live album cover is him crossing Abbey Road again.
I know.
This time with a dog and bad Photoshop.
And I don't think there's anything you can zoom to on that Volkswagen. I did a brief Google on that and I didn't come up with anything.
He looks really small in this photo. Like, look at him compared to the
It looks like bad Photoshop.
Yeah, he looks too teeny here.
Well, I guess it is. I mean, it was in 1993. I guess it is bad Photoshop. What the hell am I criticizing?
Fair enough. Oh, it's so cool.
I know. So the reason that I thought to do this today, and I'm going to categorize these two short stories, they're almost like a mini Monster Madness, but not, in William the Bits and Bobs section of my tale.
Love a bit, love a bob.
That's right. So yesterday Ryan and I were at like a car dealership like all day because Ryan got a Jeep. And I don't remember why this came up or something. I think it's just that like Nirvana was playing in the dealership or something. The guy who was our salesman was really nice and cool. And he was like, "Oh, have you heard that rumor about how like Kurt Cobain is actually Rivers Cuomo?" And I was like, "What? No."
Whoa.
Right. And then I was like, "Well, have you heard the theory about there being like multiple Andrew WKs?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No." So we both told each other the stories. And now I will tell you guys the stories.
Nice.
So the Kurt Cobain Rivers Cuomo thing is very simple. Obviously not true. So Weezer was formed in 92, which is when Nirvana was having like a lot of issues and possibly breaking up. And so people wonder, did Kurt Cobain form Weezer foreseeing problems with Nirvana, wanting to jump ship to a new band, try something entirely new?
Why wouldn't he be allowed to have another band?
William, don't ask questions that you don't want the answers to. Weezer and Nirvana tour dates did not conflict at all during that time, so Kurt could have very well been doing both and having a new face during it, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
People are like, well, they have a lot of the same facial features. I disagree wholeheartedly. They look nothing like each other.
They don't.
And this is also supported by the fact that Weezer played a number of small shows in the early 2000s under the name Goat Punishment. And what it actually says on a couple of the sites that I read was that they were Nirvana cover shows. One of them was a Nirvana cover show.
Okay.
The others were like Weezer shows and an Oasis cover show. So it's just like, what?
So it might be one of the Gallagher brothers as well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Gallagher too, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, I'll bet. But no smashing watermelons. That's trademarked.
Oh, no Smashing Pumpkins either. Unless he's also Billy Corgan.
Maybe.
Smashing Pumpkins was on Howard Stern this week. It was very dull,
Yeah, what did he have to talk about?
if you can believe it.
Like, was all Smashing Pumpkins on Howard Stern?
Yeah, like they were interviewed.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it like the original lineup? It's not, right?
It was Billy Corgan and the guy not...
James Iha?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess.
And then not Darcy.
Not Darcy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like, what are you gonna... Yeah.
And we turned it off.
Don't have a lot to say,
I
probably.
like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, totally.
Turned it off.
Yeah. Not everybody is super... Maybe you can make awesome stuff and do great things, but not everybody's super interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to hear him talk about dating Jessica Simpson. Did that come up at all in what you listened to?
Dated Jessica Simpson?
Yes.
Wow.
Briefly, but yes.
That's wild.
I know. And Tila Tequila.
That's...
So actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if you had waited, that would be like a good episode of Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, maybe I should have...
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stuck it out.
So then he told me that, and then I was like, well, here's the multiple Andrew WK's thing. So basically, people think that there is either that Andrew WK isn't like a person, it's more of like a thing, basically, and like a collective, and that different people play Andrew WK and spread the good word of partying, basically.
Right, yeah.
And it seems like for the most part, people seem to think the rumor that has the most traction is that there was one Andrew WK in the early 2000s, and then starting in 2005, he was played by a different guy who's Andrew WK. Basically, there's this, like, it kept coming up. There's this one split screen thing where it's like 3 pictures of like I Get Wet Andrew WK, and then like 3 pictures of like I can't remember what the other one is called. And it looks like he shaved and lost some weight.
Right.
It is fully the same guy.
That's the thing. It's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just like change your facial hair a little bit, I guess you might be a different person entirely.
Right. It's so goofy. So part of what supported this theory is that he did one show that was like a radio station concert where he did act really weird and squirrely. Like he's known for being like a really friendly, like affable guy who wants to like talk and hang out with everybody. He usually shows up at events early and will hang out with the crowd and stuff. And he came and didn't come early. Like they thought he was going to come early, and then he was like, no, he only came like right before he was supposed to go up on stage, and he had like a hoodie on, and then he had sunglasses on like the whole time, and they were like, this is kind of weird. And then the show, the urban legend behind it is that he stopped the show in the middle and then just left, like all covered up and everything again. So people were like, what is the deal with this? Like, was that even Andrew WK? But the thing is, the guy who was the booker of that show wrote an article about it, and he was like, yeah, it was unusual that he was like very covered up and didn't interact with anybody, but we had to cut the show ourselves because we were worried about the noise curfew. So like he didn't just storm off stage. We had to end the show at a certain time. Maybe it's that he showed up late or something like that.
Yeah,
so
like a hard stop at a certain time.
Yes.
All right.
And people thought that was very out of character for Andrew WK, but it turned out.
Yeah, I also like to party.
Yeah.
And have a blast.
Right.
Look at the time. I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Couldn't think of anything else.
Basically
to say about partying.
panicked once he was up there. Yeah.
I gotta get out of here.
I can't party quite this hard.
Let me out of here.
And so it seemed like at first he was kind of enjoying and playing into the rumor a little bit. Like when he would comment on it, he would say like really weird, vague statements like, well, I'm not the same person as I was. And it's just like, well, okay, what? But then more recently, I found this interview with the Phoenix New Times because he had a show coming up there soon in 2017. And they asked him about it like straight up. And like, what do you think about it? About the theory that like you don't exist and there's like a multiple collective of you. And he was like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Sometimes it makes me mad, like, because it's like, I'm a person. Like, so it's weird. And he said that he thinks that it could have started because it's very easy to dress up like Andrew WK. Like, you put on like all white clothes, like blood on your face and blood on your shirt, wear long hair or a wig, and like you look like Andrew WK.
Yeah.
So he said when he has shows and things like that, there are like tons of people dressed up like him. So maybe that started to get in people's heads and made them think that they're all these Andrew WKs.
Yeah.
And he pointed out, which is weird and true, that these rumors about there being like multiples of one person only really come up about musicians like Paul McCartney and Taylor Swift.
Interesting.
Not
there are multiple Taylor Swifts too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not actors or anything. Like he said, nobody says, oh, there's more than one Bradley Cooper. Like it doesn't, it's only musicians. And he pointed out that that's weird because musicians are presenting themselves as themselves. Like they're not disappearing into a role. Well, I mean, sometimes people are a little bit, but like
performance is different.
They're themselves, not assuming characters in a formal way like actors.
That's interesting.
Which is kind of interesting and weird because you could think then like it might be a little bit easier in some ways for there to be multiple of one actor, because if there's supposed to be a different person in every role anyway, you could chalk up any discrepancies to like them playing different roles and stuff.
Right.
So it's just kind of like a weird thing that he didn't have an answer for. He's like, I don't know why, but it's musicians that seems to be a thing with.
Although that does tamper with my theory that there is more than one Brent Spiner.
Who's Brent Spiner?
I picked one of the most obscure people I possibly could. Anyway.
I don't even think there's one Brent Spiner.
There's a Brent Spiner, all right.
Wait, that's a real person?
Yeah.
Who is he?
He's in Independence Day. He's that weird doctor with the long white hair. I don't know why he popped in mind, but he did. The Andrew WK theorists.
Brent Spiner.
The Andrew WK theorists probably need a shorthand to talk about different versions.
Yeah.
So they should have like Peter WK, Michael WK.
So people don't get confused.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to leave you on a note that perhaps will unlock a bunch of new conspiracy theories that you, dear listeners and viewers, can take and run with.
Love that.
So, Dave Grohl, obviously a member of Nirvana. Dave Grohl, widely rumored to be an uncredited producer / somewhat like Svengali of Andrew WK, and how to like present himself to the press and like get the ball rolling.
Interesting.
Why is Dave Grohl involved in both of these weird mistaken identity, multiples, doing different things, schemes?
Yeah.
Just what is Dave Grohl up to? And is that even Dave Grohl?
What the hell are you up to, Dave? And why do you look so much like that guy from the Foo Fighters?
That's right.
So much like that guy from Them Crooked Vultures. And so much like that guy
From Nirvana.
from Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny.
Yeah. It can't all be possibly the same Dave. And so why does he have a hand in all of this?
Nobody has.
What's in it for Dave Grohl is what I want to know.
Nobody has that much time on their hands.
No, of
Grohl.
course not.
I'll also leave people with this. And they
Okay.
can develop their own theories. Andrew WK. WK. Willie Chrissy.
Oh my God. So have we been behind this the whole time?
Or is this not the real us? Ooh. Maybe you're watching our twin brother and twin sister.
Or I unzip my body and I'm Andrew WK. I do party hard. I do have a classical music training that you'd be surprised to hear.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a very accomplished musician, William. Yeah. I did write No and Bursting Bubbles, so you can just step off.
That is true.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Paul's
cool.
dead?
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Gozer.
Paul is live.
Yeah.
Kisses on the bottom. It's one of the best things I've ever heard.
Do you remember we lost our minds
That
when
is
we found
so
that out?
funny.
It was like nominated for Grammys and stuff, I think.
Oh my God. It didn't get any Grampies? That's a shame.
Maybe got some grumpies from the from the record label who were like,
Got a grumpy.
Paul, no one's gonna buy this, man.
I thought that
He's
only,
like, but it's an inside joke, man, with me and my friends.
I thought only Lewis Black's albums were up for Grumpies.
No, Dennis Miller's also getting nominated for Grumpies. Yeah. He's won a couple Grumpies.
Stiff challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Cool.
That brings us to the end of another episode of Guide to the Unknown.
That's right.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
Take stock of everything you're sensing right now.
This is a lot to take in. Just tap into your body, notice the physical sensations, and then see if they can tell you anything about who you actually are or whether you're some sort of duplicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then harness that energy in the palm of your hands and use it to write a review on iTunes.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Or write a blog post or write some posts on Facebook telling your friends about us.
Yeah, we love that.
Turn that energy outward again and share this show with the world.
Yes.
You can also go to patreon.com/GTTUpod.
Yep.
Sorry, if you want to donate to Guide to the Unknown to back us.
That'd be awesome.
Download the Patreon app, look up Guide to the Unknown.
Yep.
Follow at GTTUpod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We record this show live on Facebook Tuesday nights, facebook.com/GTTUpod. You can see the show before anybody else does. The show comes out every Friday on all major podcast apps and YouTube. You can also follow us.
That's right.
How about that?
How about it? I'm at Chillin' Kristen on Instagram. Or am I? I'll stop.
She is.
Yeah. I am.
Mystery solved. I am at Haunted Sponge. Thank you all once again so much for tuning in. We hope you had a good time.
Yeah.
We will see you next week for another terrifying episode of Guide to the Unknown. I don't know if it can be nearly as scary
Right,
as
as
this one.
terrifying as today.
But until then, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we. Or do we? Is it our duplicates? Are they not even us? Are we dead? Hard to say. Goodbye.